Hello. This is Christina Barn. You're watching Black Tea News. Hello. Welcome to Black Tea News. I'm your host, Christina Barnes. Today we're going to be talking about some more crazy comments from Stacey Abrams. She was on a MSNBC show today, I believe it was, or maybe it was CNN. We'll see it. We'll remember together when I play the clip. But apparently, abortion is good for inflation or trying to solve inflation, because the reason why women are concerned about how they're going to pay for their, pay for milk and other things is because they have kids, and if they abort them, then they certainly won't be thinking about those things, will they? It's pretty gross. It's eugenics, and most reasons why people mention abortion is eugenics related. And gosh, you guys are probably sick of this topic. Unfortunately, this is the priority that the Democrats have decided to set before everyone in the world. It's definitely Biden's goal in mind. He says, if they win the House, etc., in the Senate, then they're going to pass the next session. That's what they're going to prioritize: pass some legislation to codify Roe. But that's not even what they want to do. They want unrestricted abortion, period. That's where we're at. And Katie Hobbs, who's running against Carrie Lake, who just sounds like a little baby doll, basically. She's just no match for Carrie Lake, and I'm not surprised that she doesn't want to debate her on stage. She believes in no limitations, and Biden doesn't believe in any limitations, or maybe personally he knows that there should be, but he's not going to support any. But also, I mentioned this on my Facebook, so if you follow the page, then you probably are aware of Fetterman was asked a question about clemency and granting them for people who commit murder, like first degree, and what would he do, or what's his methods for you granting that? And he brought up Shawshank Redemption and asked, well, would you want Morgan Freeman to die in jail? So I don't know, that's a good way to really govern at all. Man, I told my sister about that, and she was just going on about it for a good 5-10 minutes. She just couldn't believe how stupid it was, and we'll go into more of that when we get there. But yeah, we're gearing up toward heading very quickly toward election day. Not much time left. Something that everyone does need to ask people running for office is, how do they feel about mandatory COVID vaccines? Because the CDC is meeting, I guess probably now, or discussing whether or not they're going to make it mandatory, well, to put it on the childhood list, as far as vaccinations being mandatory or mandatory go to school. Tucker Carlson did mention something, he tweeted that it would be mandatory, but in the segment they say that states decide that. So there's confusion going around about that. But if it's going to be decided by the states, I definitely want to know where my governor stands on that. I wouldn't trust her either way, but I at least want to hear her be asked and see what she'll say. I know what her opponent, Tudor Dixon, will say, that they're not going to mandate that, especially for kids to go to school. And it's really alarming how much they're still pushing that, knowing there's not good data to support this needing to be pushed onto children. I've never seen mitocarditis. I've never really heard much of mitocarditis prior to COVID-19. But now we're seeing all these commercials. We're seeing commercials now, hospitals producing commercials about treating kids with that and all sorts of other stuff. And your kids are more likely to die of suffocation, than COVID-19. So It's just really bonkers. Thank you to everyone who's in the chat watching live. Thank you to everyone who watches back. But before we jump into all the news of the day, I want to encourage you guys to go to blacktnews.com, check out different content that I have on the website, different videos that I have. I'm working on a few right now, so please keep your eyes open for those things, and please make sure that you share them. I thank you everyone who shares stuff. Check out different articles that we have. I'm about to drop one not too long after I get off of air that is going to be about the gender apocalypse that's about to unleash on Michigan. And just some examples from all across the state. Maybe I should do like a long form video about it. You could do so much about it. Also, if you like what I do here, please consider leaving a donation at blacktnews.com/donate. It does cost to stream. It costs to run my website. It costs to travel. It costs to have different software that I use and filters and all sorts of different things. So if you like what I do, if you would like to support, I am asking you to support. If you want to cover some of those costs of that overhead, go to blacktnews.com/donate. I very much appreciate it. If you can't do that, I understand. Buying inflation is rough. I thank you guys for watching, for commenting, for sharing, doing all that good stuff. It does also help. So God bless you. But if you can go further, I do appreciate it. Also, check out different merch that we have, like goat hoodies, goat t-shirts. We have the I voted for President Trump and all I got was historic peace deals, border security, ISIS destroy gas prices under $2, no new wars, a tax cut, and this lousy t-shirt. I think I missed some stuff, but yeah, got that stuff. Also, denounce white supremacy, defeat Joe Biden shirt with a list of some of his racism on the back. So we'll have some more stuff in. So make sure that you guys are, again, just checking out the website. Also want to thank Bride of Michigan Pack. I'm in their studio. If I say something today that triggers you, then I don't care. Nobody cares. But I do appreciate the space. So thank you to Bride of Michigan Pack and all the work that they do to try to save my crazy state from going into further madness. All right. So I don't have a meme today. I just wanted to play part of this interview of Herschel Walker. He was asked, was there anything that Joe Biden has done that he agrees with? And his not hesitancy, he just wasn't able to think of one. And I can understand.
You are going to have to work with President Biden and Democrats in order to get anything done.
That's right.
So let me ask you, can you name one thing that President Biden has done that you support?
One thing that he's done that I support. He eat a lot of ice cream.
Is there anything
she goes on for, it literally goes on for like about a minute, her trying to get him to say something else, but he can't really think of anything. He can think of some negative things that he disagrees with, and then he's like, well, can you name anything? And she's like, it's your question, can you think of anything? And so she couldn't help him out. But yeah, he brought up the ice cream. And but you know, that's the image that they have of Joe with the glasses and they're looking at the ice cream and, you know, eating $6 ice cream, talking about how good our economy is, when people have to reconcile whether they have enough gas money to get to work, really. So it's all about image, I guess. And he's not really cognizant to think about what that good image should be. So let's go ahead and start off about Stacey Abrams. So she was interviewed and asked about inflation and abortion, because a lot of, I don't know, it seems like these journalists are trying to help out the Democrats to a degree, and they're just like kind of reminding them, like, hey, we're looking at the polling, and the polling is indicating that people really care about inflation, and they care about the gas prices and the cost of chicken and you know, things that relate to them in a normal everyday sort of life. They're really scared right now, especially in these urban cities. They go out and they're mugged and their car gets jacked and all this other kind of stuff. So is it possible that thinking so much about abortion is kind of the wrong way to go? And we played an interview yesterday. Nancy Pelosi was like, no, that's not true. They care about abortion. They don't. Which is funny. I mean, you have a woman as rich as Sen, and she's this rich white woman is saying, no, money. What that silly old thing? I have so much of it. That's everywhere. Who cares about money? Like, it's abortion that what we care about. So they're really out of touch with that, and they're trying to refocus and just will people to it, to have it be the number one issue. Now it is on the ballot in different places, and it's on the ballot in Michigan, for example. And it's, man, our Prop 3 is so bad. I'm not going to go on a rant. I'm going to try not to rant about it today. We've talked about it a lot, but it's on the ballot in some places. But is it the number one thing that people care about? I don't think so. Gretchen Whitmer, when she was on the debate stage with Tudor Dixon last Thursday, she's like, I'm the only reason why the ban isn't in place and blah, 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 which watch out. I'm about to do a video on her for even saying that, because she's solely responsible now for 30,000 dead people every yearly. So, and more than half being Black. So yeah, I'm coming for her for that, because she believes she is solely the person who is responsible now for these people being killed. So they want to make it their number one issue. They want everyone to feel as passionately about it as them. And the journalists are trying to help him out. Like, at one point, the journalists were with him as far as like 2020 and defunding the police and all other kind of stuff. And then something snapped. And then they're like, oh, the polling's bad. Do you remember Don Lemon, who's like, the polling, it indicates, X, Y, Z. And then they started to kind of shift. I think they're trying to help him out, but they don't want to be helped because it's the only thing that they have. Because they know that they are the ones responsible for the inflation. They know that they're the ones responsible for the gas prices and all sorts of other things. And they don't have a solution. Even if they had a solution, they don't have one that's going to be fast enough, that's going to be quick enough. All they have is this issue. So they're trying to direct everyone back and inflaming everyone with these emotions, saying, oh, all these women are going to hemorrhage out. What if someone has an ectopic pregnancy, which wasn't an issue before because it's not a viable pregnancy and not something that we have to debate about. And really something, if you've had an ectopic pregnancy, you don't feel the same. It's not the same emotional sort of, I don't want to say responsibility. You shouldn't bear that same emotional burden that someone would when they want to have an abortion because they want to finish college or something. It's a non-viable pregnancy. Sometimes when women find out they have an ectopic pregnancy, the baby might already be dead. And it's not viable. It's not the same. Even Planned Parenthood said it's not the same as an abortion, but they did update their website because it wasn't going along with the narrative that they're trying to push. So they're trying to say all these women will die, all this will happen, blah, blah, blah. They're going to jail all these doctors and nurses, etc. That's not going to happen because there's not going to be all these doctors and nurses who decide to keep doing abortion if it's illegal. So they're just inflaming all these emotions, hoping that will make the difference. So here's Stacey Abrams and the crazy thing that she said.
I just asked you, you're running for governor of Georgia. I would assume, maybe incorrectly, but while abortion is an issue, it nowhere reaches the level of interest of voters in terms of the cost of gas, food, bread, milk, things like that. What could you do as governor to alleviate the concerns of Georgia voters about those livability, daily, hourly issues that they're confronted with?
But let's be clear. Having children is why you're worried about your price for gas. It's why you're concerned about how much food costs. For women, this is not a reductive issue. You can't divorce being forced to carry an unwanted pregnancy from the economic realities of having a child. And so it's important for us to have both and conversations. We don't have the luxury of reducing it or separating them out, but we also have to talk about what a governor can do. A governor can address housing prices. A governor can address the cost of education. A governor can put money into the pockets of everyday hardworking Georgians instead of giving tax cuts to the wealthy. That's what I talk about on the trail, and that's what's resonating. But let's not pretend that women, half the population, especially those of childbearing age, they understand that having a child is absolutely an economic issue. It is only politicians who see it as simply another cultural conversation. It is a real biological and economic imperative conversation that women need to have.
So I'm glad she said having a child, because that's what they are and what they decide to abort. So yeah, you could solve inflation by killing your kids first. You won't have to worry. Then you're just trying to survive for yourself, and you don't have to worry about how you're going to feed your family because they're gone because you killed them. What kind of what kind of answer is that? What kind of answer is that? Oh boy. So much wrong, twisted theology within that. From Stacey Abrams, who considers herself a good, kind Christian. So there's lots of people with kids here right now, here in the now, that are concerned about inflation. And so, as I told you, the journalist, he's trying to help her. They're trying to help her about these issues that are affecting people every day. He didn't just say every day; he said every hour. Every hour, these issues are affecting people in the here and now. And she's like, but abortion, and the reason why you care is because you actually have the kids. Okay. Women can control whether or not they get pregnant. Well, they can't control if they get pregnant. Like, you can't will yourself to do that, right? But you can help when you not get pregnant, right? So if you're a young woman and you don't want to have a child, and especially you're not married, 86% of abortions are from unmarried women, you could make sure that the loser that you're shacking up with, because a lot of ladies do, I don't know, are just having a go at it, and they don't have aspirations to marry the person that they're with. Make sure that he is wearing a condom, that I'm not double up or something, or you could just chill out. And if your priorities are really, really not having a child, you could focus on your education. Like, sometimes really active, high-powered athletes are like, you know what, I can't fool around right now because I got to focus, on the training or whatever. Maybe that's what some women ought to do. You can control. You have bodily autonomy. We can't pretend that women own, like, the bodily autonomy is only like relevant when you're actually considering whether or not you're going to keep the pregnancy, and just pretend it doesn't exist prior to getting pregnant. Like, you can make those decisions before. So pretending like with Roe v. Wade gone, that women have lost bodily autonomy, it's just not true. Even pregnant women have bodily autonomy. No one can just kidnap you and take you to a lab and experiment on you because you've lost bodily autonomy. That's not how it works. It's just not how it works. So you can family plan, and it's possible to still family plan without abortion in your life. It is. It is. It absolutely is. And you know what? When there are abortion restrictions, women tend to make better decisions, and men make better decisions. They're more careful. As a matter of fact, just research for a second. There's stories about all these men researching vasectomies, and even some going and getting one after the Roe v. Wade decision, because they did not want to have a child. A little rash, but if that's the thing that they really didn't want to do, you can take precautions to make sure that does not happen. You don't need the abortion issue to not be pregnant. I've never been pregnant, never needed an abortion. But, okay. So there's that. There's all these women with children, with families here in the here and now, who care about these issues. And to keep prioritizing this particular one, because you have to, there's people who will never, ever, 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 ever consider having one, who will never like it. And you're trying to make everyone feel so emotionally attached to this, when even if you go by, she talked about half the population is she's talking about females. like half the population of females are pro-life. So, and she's not going to be the governor of every, female, just the ones in Georgia. So she just really doesn't have her priorities straight for her constituents. And none of these Democrats who are so focused on this do. Like, Gretchen Whitmer has so many tweets about abortion, it's ridiculous. Now, it's not the only thing she's tweeting about, but it is nonstop. And I doubt she actually like runs her page, but it is nonstop. It's nonstop. It is their priority for sure. The press secretary was asked about this, by the way.
In Georgia, the president's endorsed candidate for governor, Stacey Abrams, is suggesting that one way to mitigate the effects of inflation is to get an abortion. Does President Biden agree?
I did not see her comments on this, so I don't know the context of this. Again, I want to be careful because this is a political debate, and it's related to a midterm, an election. So I'm not going to comment on that.
You can't comment on that? You can't comment on that and just say, abortions don't solve inflation. Just stop the spending. That that would help. You can't answer that question. I understand wanting some more context before you respond. Obviously, they want Stacey Abrams to win. It's not going to happen. Kemp is like, he might be 6 points up in the last poll that I saw. She's not going to win. She's not going to win. And it looks like they're not going to need a runoff. He looks like he's going to win. And as far as the Senate race, there might be a runoff. I guess that's the likelier scenario right now. However, Kim could just pull Herschel's numbers up to them not needing to do a runoff. We'll see. But Warnock's doesn't look like he's going to win that night anyway. This is just a crazy statement. But, talking about the Biden administration, where they stand, please recall what Janet Yellen said to Tim Scott in his response.
I'm just surprised that we find ways to weave into every facet of our lives such an important and painful reality for so many people, to make it sound like it's just another 0.4% added to our labor force participation as a result of the issue of abortion. Just, to me, seems harsh.
Well, I certainly don't mean to say what I think the effects are in a manner that's harsh. What we're talking about is whether or not women will have the ability to regulate their reproductive situation in ways that will enable them to plan lives that are fulfilling and satisfying for them. And one aspect of a satisfying life is being able to feel that you have the financial resources to raise a child, that the children you bring into the world are wanted, and that you have the ability to take care of them. In many cases, abortions are of teenage women, particularly low income and often Black, who aren't in a position to be able to care for children, have unexpected pregnancies, and it deprives them of the ability often to continue their education, to later participate in the workforce. So there is a spillover into labor force participation, but it means that children will grow up in poverty and do worse themselves.
Thank you. Let me just say my time on the topic.
This is the truth.
I'll just simply say that as a guy raised by a Black woman in abject poverty, I'm thankful to be here as United States Senator.
Boom. Just there you go. The idea, and this is the last Well, I'm going to play this clip from Katie Hobbs, and that'll be where I plan to end this particular topic of the day. Eugenics was used as a way to breed out suffering, and you really start discriminating against people when you look at them and you decide that their suffering should disqualify them from life. According to the Turnaway study, 96% of women who are turned away from abortion don't regret not getting the abortion. And maybe they live in less fortunate economic status than maybe someone who did have an abortion. But if you've been following me long enough, you know that my financial situation growing up wasn't great, and at times it was worse than other times. And I just can't imagine looking at any of my siblings. I'm the middle child, particularly looking at the youngest and saying my life would have been better if she weren't here. So I don't know. It always weirds and grosses me out when people talk about financial status as the reason why we should kill our sons and daughters in the womb, and as a society feel that it's justified, that we should participate, that we should make it unlimited and unrestricted, and that's where we're at. And the more that we accept this, the more normalized it will become, to the point where it will be not only socially acceptable but pushed. And if you don't believe me, just think about some women who feel that they're kind of coerced by their doctors when their child has a bit of a medical situation. And I'm not talking like they're going to die because of their medical situation. They have not long to live after they exit the womb. I talked yesterday, I think, about how a doctor told a patient to abort her child because they had a foot that was kind of like this, and they're like, well, they won't be able to walk. And they're 24 weeks, and they suggested having an abortion. Now the baby's now 2. She didn't have the abortion. They amputated that part of their foot off, and now the baby knows how to put on their leg, and can walk. But the doctor was like, well, I don't know if they're ever going to walk, so maybe you should abort them at 24 weeks. I just watched a video not too long ago. It was a TikTok of a woman who had her baby, and she found out like at 20 something weeks that her baby's brain was underdeveloped, and the doctors suggested having an abortion, and she didn't. And she has a very happy baby, very, very happy, beautiful baby. And there were some people in the comments like, well, good thing you had a choice, whether you could do that. And but there were so many people also saying things like, well, the doctor said that because of the quality of life. And also like scolding her, like, what's going to happen when the parents pass away and then the siblings going to have to watch and take care of that kid or that person. And it's amazing how harsh we can be to one another, because these liberals still feel they feel that we have a moral obligation to each other. That's why they feel that you should have to pay for universal health care, or we should have to forgive college debt and have free college and stuff, because they believe that we have a moral obligation to support one another. That's why they feel comfortable saying eat the rich and the redistribution of wealth, and some of them believe in communism and socialism and all that other kind of stuff, because they believe that we have a moral obligation, and they don't believe that we should have the free will to decide to be moral and compassionate toward one another, generous toward one another. They want a guarantee. But when it comes to being kind to each other and caring for someone in need like that, then it's, you shed your dead weight so you can move forward. It's really troubling where society is going. And when I went to the Ark with my family last month, we were looking at different, displays, and they were talking about. I was talking with my cousin about state of the world, and she was talking about how bad things were in biblical times prior to the flood. And I'm like, I think we're kind of there. She was saying things would get as bad as it was back then, and she's like, no. I'm like, think about the things that we do. Like maybe they're not, they don't look quite as barbaric as what they are, but I'm like, think about the things that we protest to do. And I'm not saying it can't get worse. I think it will get worse, but I think we're really immoral. I think we're really, really immoral right now. And I could go on about think about the things that we're willing to do to kids for the transgender kids, and cutting them up for cash, confusing them for cash. There's a story. I don't have time to go through it today, but I retweeted it about a girl who has been trafficked, honestly, has a drag queen father. And when the baby was born, they're like, oh, this is going to be a queen. And it's a biological girl, young girl. And she has a Venmo, and grown men will send cash to it. And there was a bar that had her performing. And the bar was like, oh, you guys, everyone defending it. There's people defending it, saying, oh, you guys are gross because you're sexualizing the child. There's nothing wrong with this. And then some of those people were creeps with OnlyFans and all kinds of other weird stuff. But the person who encouraged or trained the girl to be drag, the drag mother, was arrested for pedophilia. So this young girl is being trafficked, and I know God will judge us one day. God will just judge us one day. Moving on, I do want to play this clip of Katie Hobbs because I think she is so underwhelming, and she's got that little baby voice. She has no power behind her. I wonder how she even got to this place at all to be the nominee against Carrie Lake. I understand why she doesn't want to debate her. Obviously, she is scared, and she would just get swallowed up in the presence of Carrie Lake, because Carrie Lake, the media cannot handle her. She is always ready to go at them. And I have a clip that I want to show you guys of her just owning them so well. So here's Katie Hobbs. She was asked about abortion, and I mostly want you to just kind of see how timid and baby voice she is. She just does not give governor vibes in the least bit.
As far as any kind of limit, any kind of limit for abortion, where do you go? 15 weeks? Where do you do? Where do you go?
Abortion is healthcare, and healthcare should be left to medical providers who have the expertise. And a decision to have abortion should be between a woman and her doctor.
Does that equate to no limits?
Look, there is no one-size-fits-all limit that's going to address really extreme circumstances.
So the reason why they can't say we shouldn't have them at 9 months or 8 months or whatever is because the reasons why someone might want them later in life, they believe are valid still, even at 6 weeks. They're valid, and they could be valid at 32 weeks. There's women who find out that they're pregnant very late in pregnancy. There's women who they didn't have the money before, and they have them later, and then a bigger dead fetus is worth more. Their body parts are worth more, just saying. So people who decide to abort later, it's not just because of, they found out the baby doesn't have a brain or something like that, or it's never usually because of the life of the mother, because they would just normally induce, because that's faster to save your life. But some people do it because of like I already mentioned the story about the woman at 24 weeks, that they might want to abort over that. And that's not even like a huge physical handicap. Like, they just were scared they wouldn't be able to walk. And now the baby can walk and it's 2. But they were willing to say maybe you should abort because of this. So, if whatever reason a woman wants to abort, even if it's late, they still want to protect that. So they're deciding to throw away all sort of moral consideration for that child. And a lot of people who are pro-choice don't even want to believe that late term happens, or they happen for reasons other than like some kind of detrimental health reason. But I wish that were true, but it's not. Now, does it happen less likely and rarely compared to all the other abortions we have? Yeah, there's like 1 million abortions a year, and most of them take place before week 20. However, there's still like, even if it's like 1% of that's still a lot. It's still a lot, and they can still feel pain, and they're still human regardless. I don't like it at any week, to be frank. I don't like it any week, to be frank. I could debate it at 6 weeks or 32 weeks or whatever, but it is remarkable that Democrats don't want any limitations, and they've moved far away from safe, legal, and rare. That's not their thing anymore, because they can't argue safe, legal, and rare, because they don't want abortion to be stigmatized into something bad. And again, there's a real danger to that. But anyway, moving on to Carrie Lake, I want to show you guys this really awesome video of her. She was asked about election denial, and the media cannot touch her. She's so good at this.
If you're going to start throwing around terms like election denier, let's remember who the other election deniers were: Hillary Clinton and all the Democrats. Next question.
So the question is, you over the weekend, you took the Google all over the world. Your name was ringing everywhere. And one of them, yes, ma'am, because I have the scale. And one of them most of them were asking, is she an election denier, Carrie Lake? And that was like going around on all different cable news. What do you elaborate on this?
I'm actually shocked you asked that question, George.
Well,
actually, Anthony, where's Anthony?
Once in a while.
Here, Anthony. I did a little, actually, Anthony, how old are you?
20.
Are you a journalist?
No.
Well, you did better research than half these people. Let's talk about election deniers. Here's 150 examples of Democrats denying election results. Oh, wow, look at this. This is from Joe Biden's press secretary. Reminder, Brian Kemp stole the gubernatorial election from Georgians and Stacey Abrams. Democrats saying that. Is that an election denier? Oh, look at this. Just heard Republican Ryan Costello said it would be difficult for Stacey Abrams to win because she lost her state bid, but yet she's still claiming she never lost. This is outrageous. Hillary Clinton, Trump is an illegitimate president. Is she an election denier? This one says, was the 2016 election legitimate? It now definitely is a question worth asking. That's the Los Angeles Times. So it's okay for Democrats to question elections, but it's not okay for Republicans. It's a crock of BS. Every one of you knows it. We have our freedom of speech, and we're not going to relinquish it to a bunch of fake news propagandists. If you want a copy of these, I'm sure that Anthony would help you get a copy and help you learn how to be journalists, but look it up. It's been happening for a long time. Since 2000, people have questioned the legitimacy of our elections. And all we're asking is that in the future, we don't have that have to happen anymore. When I'm governor, we're going to make sure we have honest elections. We want the Democrats, the independents, and the Republicans to all know that their vote counted. We want fair, honest, and transparent elections, and we're going to deliver that for the people. But just remember, guys, this is one page after Hillary Clinton says George W. Bush was selected president, not elected. So let's start, if you're going to start throwing around terms like election denier, let's remember who the other election deniers were: Hillary Clinton and all the Democrats. Next question.
She is so good. She's so good. You can't tell me little baby Katie Hobbs gives off governor energy. Now, those people are going to go ahead and check D, and Arizona's kind of going through this purple phase. But Carrie Lake God bless. She's just good at this. She's so good at this. And Jen Psaki tweeted out, holy moly, Siena New York Times polled more than a third of independent voters, and a smaller but noteworthy contingent of Democrats said they were open to supporting candidates who reject the legitimacy of the 2020 election as they focus on economic issues. So, of course, Jen Psaki was a former press secretary under Biden, and though she wasn't great, she was still better than our current one. So what's interesting, and people are pointing out with that tweet and retweeting it, talking about how the Democrats have lost the high ground on this issue, which they didn't have high ground in the first place. And I'll get to back to that in a second. But they were paying for campaigns, making ads for candidates who were pro-Trump, who were election deniers, because they just figured that they would lose in the general election. And we'll see how that pans out on November the 8th. But Peter Meyer, who's in my state for the 3rd district, he was defeated in a primary by John Gibbs. And John Gibbs was a Trump guy. So the Democrats, and this isn't the only example, but I'm more familiar with this one because it's my state. So they paid money into making commercials, and the commercials weren't bad. They're just like, he's too red for our state, or he's too conservative for our state. And this is in a primary, so the Democrats are spending money making these ads that are supposed to be negative, but aren't really negative. So if a Republican saw it, they go like, yeah, John, that sounds really good. He's pro-parent control with education and things that I like. And so those ads help to raise his name ID against Peter Meyer. Like, if you're from Michigan, there's stores that say Meyer. Actually, I don't know. Are they just a Michigan store? Maybe not. I think they're all over. But Meyer, that Meyer. But the Democrats helped to raise that ID. And Republicans were already mad at Peter Meyer because he was one of the Republicans who voted to impeach Trump. So the Democrats, they would say, hey, Meyer, you're a good one. You're one of the good ones. But they sure did spend money to try to get him out of office, and they succeeded. He was defeated in the primary. And then when Peter's complaining, they're all like, at the end of the day, you're still Republican. And then they're mad because he conceded and was like, congratulations, John, at an event. And they're like, oh, how dare he? Like, what should he do? Like, kick him in the face and be like, no, Democrats for life. That's not what was going to happen. So at the end of the day, people are on their teams. So if the Democrats thought that people like John Gibbs were really so dangerous, which they're not. But if they thought that they were so dangerous, then why would you want them to be elevated in the primary and then risk them actually winning in the general? I want the craziest person to, I understand the strategy, but I personally love my country. I personally love my community, love my family too much to risk wanting the crazier person to win in the primary, to risk them somehow winning the general. I would rather have the harder fight than have the damning outcome. So if Democrats really thought that they were so bad, all the Republicans that they funded who were election deniers, they wouldn't have funded them. And they would have been like, yes, please, for the sake of democracy, Republicans still, please vote for Peter Meyer. And independents, please vote for Peter Meyer. And Democrats, your person's going to win anyway. Go ahead and vote for Peter Meyer. That's what they should have done if they cared that much. So Jen Psaki, holy moly, this poll, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, congratulations. I hope that backfires on you. And people like Carrie Lake, guess what? She's probably going to be the governor. And they hate people like that. And they think she's so dangerous, which she seems very competent and cool and under control, far more commanding and capable of leading the state than Katie Hobbs, who just is like low energy baby face girl. And not even cute baby face, just like her mouth, her sounds. She just doesn't sound like an adult. Okay? Carrie Lake sounds like mama is here to lead. That's what Carrie Lake. and she's very competent and articulate, and she's just got a knack for this. Again, she's worked in media. She was a journalist, so she's got that under her belt. She's got an advantage. But she's smart as a whip. She is smart as a whip. And they wanted folks like Carrie Lake. Guess what? You're going to get folks like Carrie Lake. You're going to get folks like Carrie Lake. And furthermore, as she pointed out, Democrats have been election deniers, like the press secretary and other folks, Hillary Clinton, sowing the seed. And it's not that Hillary Clinton denied the election because she actually believed the election was rigged. It was just her story to save face for failing, and she couldn't take the embarrassment of failing against Donald Trump, so she had to drum up this lie and had to undermine the president, the sitting president of the United States, because that was more important to them than the nation, than the country. The sort of things that they lied about, Trump could be his own worst enemy, but the sort of things that they would lie about to undermine Trump and his legitimacy and his presidency were just crazy. Sickening. Like spreading the story about the Afghanistan bounties with Russia, and there was no story there, and Biden and them pushed it, and when Biden was president, they were like, oh, turns out that this wasn't true. Jinzaki's just like, well, whatever. Like, you were giving people the impression that the commander-in-chief wasn't looking out for their troops, was willing to put them in harm and have them be killed, and not doing anything about that. Do you care nothing about this country? Do you care nothing about this country? And by the way, I had to participate in a recount in 2016. When Trump was elected, with the whole Hillary and Jill Stein did her thing. Hillary Clinton's can't participate in that too. They had Hillary people there, and everybody who was a Jill Stein person, they actually were Hillary people. Don't get it twisted. No, they were all pro Hillary people. And so I had to participate in the recount in Michigan when it was supposed to be my vacation, by the way, because I worked at the Michigan Republican Party. And when the election is over, you're supposed to be able to take some time off and enjoy the spoils of war. But that's not what happened. We had to go back to work on a stupid recount for no reason, knowing that we were going to get the same outcome because these desperate fools wanted to push it. So spare me the election denial. Having that whole packet there ready for the press and just start reading it and be like, we can supply you with all this stuff. Kudos on her. Kudos on her. But the Democrats, they have no high ground on this issue. They haven't for a very long time. Anyway, let's move on to John Fetterman. So he was asked about clemency and granting it for people who are first-degree murderers. First degree. Not accidental, first degree. And he had quite an answer. It's really a very simple choice. I believe the perfect metaphor is the Shawshank Redemption. That's a touchstone that virtually everybody has seen, everybody understands. I've asked people, would you want Morgan Freeman to die in prison or not? And I've never met anybody that says, yeah, he should die in prison. I would have voted to have him die in prison. So, confession, I've actually never seen Shawshank Redemption. I obviously know what happened. Morgan Freeman's character, and I don't know if they mentioned it in the movie, but in the book, correct? Someone could correct me if I'm wrong, but he was in prison because he cut the brake lines to his wife's car and for the insurance money, and she died, obviously. So Morgan Freeman seemed like a very nice man. But if he actually murdered someone, and he was sent away, he shouldn't just get out because he's Morgan Freeman. And what I told my sister this, who has seen the film, and she was just really stunned for a while, and she mentioned the heinous crime that he did in the film, and she was just in awe for a couple minutes, and she just keep going back and ranting, and she's like, "What does this person do?" And I'm like, "Well, they're going against Oz for Senate." I'm like, "But right now they're the LG." And I'm like, "And when he was mayor, he did chase down a black man with a shotgun, and didn't really apologize for it. Isn't taking accountability for that. Yeah, and he can't promise it won't happen again. It's very weird. It's very weird. But he does believe in just like releasing the prisoners and stuff. Some people, I mean, some people, you have appeals and all sorts of other things because maybe there's new evidence, or maybe somebody finds Jesus or something. I don't know. But to just go through the Morgan Freeman, think of Shawshank Redemption. Would you want that person to die in prison? Therefore, yeah, we can grant clemency for other people who've committed murder. It's just a movie. And then another thing, my sister was like, she's like, why mention a movie? She's like, he couldn't have even mentioned like a movie based on like other stuff. Like she was just really baffled. Really, really baffled. And most people are really baffled at this answer. And I did see that Morgan Freeman was trending last night, so I'm going to assume this is what it was about. But Fetterman is a terrible candidate. There's some really terrible candidates right now. And the funny thing is, that they were so concerned about these red candidates, these Republican candidates, and but they're running some really bad ones on their side. Fetterman is not a good candidate. And the more that I see of him, I'm just like, how did he get to where he is? I mean, I guess maybe it's just the blue crazy state, but sheesh, some of these people are awful. Like Fetterman is awful. I understand people wanting a rematch with Stacey Abrams because a lot of people believe the hype, but they created the hype. That the celebrities, door knocking for her. Wasn't Katy Perry in 2018 or whatever was door knocking, going to college dorms, like, "Hey, vote for Stacey," and all these other people, wanting people to participate and vote for her so badly. But she did lose. She even did like the State of the Union reply to Trump that year, I think, or it couldn't have been. Was it after she lost? I guess, but she did the reply. She was on magazine covers and had all these interviews, and even after she lost, they kept propping her up. So I understand them trying to rematch with that and thinking that maybe she could pull it out, especially since she raised so much and stuff before. But she did lose. She did lose, and she's gonna lose probably more than she did before. And another crazy thing, she pushed the All-Star game out of Georgia. Was one of her and Biden and other folks helped to push them out. You think people are just going to forget about that? Maybe they're hoping enough did. But that's a lot of revenue just gone for the state over some foolishness. But yeah, these Democrats, they're making some mistakes, which good. I hope, they lose. I hope they lose. Last thing I want to mention before I go, the CDC, and I don't know if there was some kind of announcement while I've been on the air, but they're meeting to determine whether or not they're going to put the COVID vaccine on like the childhood vaccination list. And there's a viral tweet go in a video with Tucker Carlson and I'm saying that it will make it mandatory for kids to go to school. If you actually watch the segment, though, they do mention that, and I guess this guest is the one who mentions this, but the states are the ones that will decide that if it's going to be mandatory. I think there's still obviously still time election wise, but you need to ask the people in your life who are running for positions who might have some kind of say in this, where they stand on that, and if they're willing to fight against mandating this for kids. It's not necessary. It's really not necessary. Not for children. Not for really young children. So why introduce the risk to them? Why introduce the risk to them? I understand that our country has invested a lot of money in Pfizer and Moderna and the narrative, which, by the way, they are being attacked or criticized about their lack of evidence or caring about whether or not it really stopped transmission, while they introduced it to the public with the lie of, or the coercion of, hey, you have to get this or else you're killing grandma. So that's been going around. So I don't really understand the need, because it's still not going to stop transmission, and it's not really going to provide protection for these kids. And you are introducing a risk to these kids by giving it to them. I can understand the calculated risk for elderly, for people who are older and have severe comorbidities. I can understand that calculated risk. For children, no. So I'm really hoping there's going to be another debate between Tudor Dixon and Gretchen Whitmer, that is something that comes up. I'm hoping that even before that, the press will ask Whitmer and she will answer. She's very dodgy on things she doesn't want to talk about. Like she didn't want to specifically say that she has no limitations on abortion, even though we're aware that she has no limitations on abortion. For example, which, by the way, Biden was asked at the end. I don't know if this was the other day, but he was asked that and he just dodged.
Report any restrictions on abortion, or what limits do you believe there should be? As the Senate,
because I don't want the story to be about inflation.
He didn't want to change the subject, which he did that a lot on the campaign trail. He's like, I'm not going to answer about packing the courts because it'll change the conversation. Yeah, it'll change the conversation to what people want to talk about, what they want to know, sir. So he does that, but obviously the Democrats are at no restrictions for that. No. But they don't believe in your freedom as far as your bodily autonomy about vaccinations and other things like that. And Biden, of course, pushed the mandates. Many of your governors also pushed along. Dana Nessel, who's our attorney general, said that she would fight to push the mandate as well. So they don't care about your bodily autonomy. They don't care about your freedom and your liberty and all that other stuff. They care about, unfortunately, killing kids, I guess, but because that'll cure inflation, according to Stacey Abrams. So please make this part of the campaign trail. Make this question relevant. Are you going to mandate that children have to take this? And I don't know what my governor will say exactly, because she's not a moron. And like Biden, she's not going to want that to be the focus. So she'll direct the conversation how she wants to go, or she'll ignore it, or people just won't ask her. So it may very well get to the point where Tudor has to bring it up. I don't know. But it's important to know. And even if she denied it, I also don't think I believe her. But there's still people who are running for House and Senate. You need to ask them too. Make this part of the campaign trail. Definitely. And it is important. It's your kids and it's their future. So vote like it matters. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the show today. Please go to blacktnews.com. Check out different content. They have a website, articles, videos, etc. If you like what I do here, please consider leaving a donation at blacktnews.com/donate. It does help. It does really go far. It costs to stream. It costs to run my site. It costs to use software. It costs to travel, cost to do all those things. If you would like to help with the overhead, I very, very, very much appreciate it. God bless you all who have helped, who've given. And if you would like to contribute, please go to blacktnews.com/donate. It's black like the color, tea like the drink. If you can't do that, or don't watch, I still appreciate you guys watching and commenting and sharing. That does also help. Please make sure that you guys also check out different merchandise that we have at the store, like the Rowan Casey aborted shirts and also like Life Wins. It's still pumpkin spice season, so you guys can get those little mugs as well. We got pro-choice men are sus, black tea mug, all kinds of stuff you guys can check out the site. So please make sure that you do that. Again, I want to thank Bride of Michigan Pack. I was in their studio today. If we triggered you, nobody cares. Nobody cares. You can't tattle on me. I'm the boss here. Also, go ahead and check out some of the stuff that I have on my website. If you go to, for those of you who don't know, I do write books. Here, I have a lot of books actually. So if you go to blackteennews.com, hit the merchandise button, there is a banner that'll take you over to my book site. I was at Motor City Comic Con last week, so that's why I'm only filmed for like 2 days, I think it was. But yeah, I got a lot of stuff that you guys can check out, and we're getting toward the Christmas season. So go ahead and check that out. So God bless you guys. Keep up the good fight, and